because I'm on antibiotics, so the antibiotics will torpedo your immune system and your good bacteria, so it's quite heavy on the system at times, to be on antibiotics, as you probably know. It kills everything. Antibiotic literally means anti-life. It just it just nukes your system. It depends on the length of the dose, the intensity of the dose as well. But it it is designed to kill everything through the bloodstream. Um, so it's an antibiotic, or I suppose you could call it a biocide. It pretty much kills everything that lives. But I have something going on with my jaw, so I don't want to risk an infection in it, which could become very, very serious. So I'm just going to be very, very careful and preemptive in this case. I normally don't touch antibiotics. I've only had 2 courses of antibiotics this year, and that's the most I've had in the last 10 years. Actually 2.5, because I was trying to diagnose whether I had SIBO or SIFO. So I took 3 days worth of an antibiotic to see if symptoms would reduce, and I took sort of 3 days worth of an antifungal to see if symptoms would reduce, and neither of them worked. But I'm on amoxicillin at the moment. I've got some kind of infection here in my lymph nodes, so I'm a bit run down at the moment. I'm just going through a bit of a tunnel in my health again. But we all get them at times, don't we? Get the odd dose of something or other. It knocks us for 6, especially if we're otherwise generally quite healthy. We don't get doses and stuff, because I don't really get colds and flus, or thrush or stuff like that. I don't generally or normally get that kind of stuff, but I might be just a bit more run down of late. So in this video, I want to again make the platform available for anybody to ask questions about Christianity. I don't see a lot of engagement at this time, so this might be a short video and then a longer one later on. I have quite considerable bone loss around my teeth. But it's interesting that whenever the government pay for something, they usually pay for things that will harm you overall. Like, you've one review of your teeth, right? So they can look at your teeth for free. They can clean your teeth. So you get one view, one consultation with the medical card, and you get one tooth cleaning. Neither of these things are preventative or emergency dental. But they'll say to you that you can also get unlimited amount of tooth extractions. So anything that the government pays for is detrimental to your dental health. It's not preventative dental care. And that's just the nature of the world. They kind of trick you. Say, oh, you think you're getting something free. You're not. Even an antibiotic is going to harm you. It might save your life, but it's also going to harm you. And you see, the devil is not in the business of killing humans. He's in the business of conquering their souls. So what they do is they create systems which are going to be adverse to your heart and mind and to your welfare as a human being. The actual systems in place that they say are social welfare don't actually help you. The only thing they do is keep body and soul together, which the devil has an interest in doing, because it extends the time he has to conquer a soul. So yes, Satan is interested in prolonging your flesh for the destruction of your soul. So anything in this world that appears to be helping you is actually designed to hinder you. Like I've bone loss here at either side of my teeth. Nothing about, oh, the social welfare will cover a little synthetic bone implant there so that you can keep your teeth. It would be relatively quick surgery. They just open up the gum, pump in some inject in some synthetic bone graft material, close up with a suture, and your bone would replace. It would regrow. And you wouldn't lose your teeth. And it's a relatively easy, quick procedure. But instead of doing that for free, they'll pull the teeth out of your head for free. Just consider how they think and how they work. Anything that's actually going to be the integrity of your dental health, they charge you through the roof for. But anything that's detrimental to your dental health, oh, we'll do that for free. Want us to pull teeth out of your head? Free of charge. Want us to fix, just put a bit of synthetic bone grafting material in there, which is relatively inexpensive, very expensive. So when the bone is lost, but the teeth are still there, and they could save them relatively easily with some bone grafting material, which they have synthetic varieties of now, which is inexpensive and no surgery involved. They don't have to take a graft of your bone or anything like that, or even bovine. They can use synthetic material. Instead of inserting that or injecting that to keep your teeth so that your body will be triggered to produce bone, they'll pull them out of your head for free instead. So anything that the government says is for your benefit. It might extend your life, but that's not opposed to Satan's agenda. Satan's not opposed to the flesh. He's opposed to the spirit. And the trials and tribulations and further adversities, like not having teeth in your head, actually play into the devil's hand, because it's more infirmity for him to pull on, to create frustration and difficulty and further difficulty, because once you start removing teeth, you start losing bone through resorption. Your teeth become misaligned. Your skull starts to recede there around the gum line, and your teeth are worsened by removing teeth. Removing teeth destroys your face structure. So instead of just pumping in a bit of bone grafting material so that you retain your teeth and prevent all of the fallout of losing your teeth, excuse the pun, they tell you, oh, any amount of extractions, tooth extractions, that's covered under medical card, excuse me. But pumping in a bit of bone grafting material, synthetic material, which is relatively inexpensive, oh no, we couldn't cover that. Too expensive. How much does the dentist have to charge for cutting a little hole, injecting some bone material after they clean out the space, and a little suture? Maybe an hour's worth of a session. Surely the government could cover that, could they? So that you keep your teeth. But they don't do anything to help you. Anything the government or the social welfare are doing is something when the damage is already done, they'll happily aid you in further damaging you. Like, oh yeah, tooth removals in Ireland, that's free, it's covered under social welfare. And we'll give you one visit, one consultation. Oh, and by the way, once you get that consultation, we'll do a tooth cleaning as well. But if for some reason you get an infection past the gum line, you're on your own, Ted. It's death to you. Death to your teeth. After that point, because I got an assessment of my teeth, the dentist said, actually, your teeth are pretty good. It's the bone surrounding your teeth that's lost. So they were actually wondering if it was because of a malnourishment that my bone was resorbing or was decaying. They thought it could be as a result of a mineral deficiency, which isn't beyond the realm of possibility because I've had IBS for 5 years. In any case, they could inject a bit of bone grafting material there and solve the problem and save the teeth. Now my teeth have been ground down from grinding them at night, but there's still a good bit of them there. Like, they'd last me another 20, 30 years if they were minded from this point. But I went to the dentist and they didn't even mention bone grafting or the need for it 2 years ago. So in 2 years, either they didn't identify the bone loss at that stage, or it has been very severe in a 2-year period. But 2 years ago, they kicked me out of the local dentist because they weren't accepting medical card anymore. And nobody reprimanded them for that. Nobody chastised them for kicking people out of their practice because they were on medical card. Nobody said that's against their statutory rights. You can't discriminate against them because they're on the social welfare. So because of this neglect, because of this infraction on my statutory rights, I have basically bone loss that has gone undiagnosed, which will result in at least the loss of 4 teeth, which will misshape the remaining teeth and cause weakness in the jaw over time. When now they could intercept and prevent the loss of teeth by bone grafting material, which you can buy online. I could buy it myself online. You can buy the material online. It's relatively cheap. Obviously, it's not advisable that you go operating on yourself, but instead of trying to save the teeth with a bit of synthetic bone grafting material, I will pull them out for free when it comes to it. And leave you in the shit, That's our part done. Yeah. Preventative dental. That's our bit done. Give you dentures if you need them. It's the extent of the help, It's pretty dire, isn't it? It's pretty dire. Anyway, that's part of realizing how bad a place this world actually is. As you age, you really start to see who's there for you and who isn't. And then you realize that they were never there for you, actually. People who aren't there for you as you get older were never there for you. That's the reality. Because if they were there for you, they'd still be there for you. correct? In adversity, if they're there for you during the good times, when you're strong and can contribute to them something, but aren't there for you in the difficult times, they were never there for you in the good times. They were there for themselves. That's just the reality. So, in one sense, your difficult situations are good, not because we as Christians operate in unforgiveness, but they help you with the realization that this world is full of evil and that there's a lot of pretentiousness in what people say. And they say, I love you, I care about you, you're my friend. That's a lot of it's just hot air. And so as Christians we realize that Jesus is the only one that's there for us actually, as human beings. Because in fairness to many people, people have their own troubles, they have their own problems, they have their own difficulties, they have their own financial situations. And that's the way the devil likes it. The devil likes it that you're struggling to look after your lot so that you don't reach out to other people to help them with theirs. Because if society has got its house in order, it has a little bit left over to help somebody in need. But if society doesn't have its house in order, it's not in a position to help anyone, and that's where the devil likes it, because it's divisive. So sometimes people aren't there for you because they can't be, and sometimes people aren't there for you because they won't be. But the governments are certainly not there for the people in this country. No, they're really not. The situations are really dire. They have some like very basic stuff, but that's really just to save their own face. It's to save their own public appearance and to appear as though they're doing right by the people when they're doing wrong, because it extends the amount of time they have to do the wrong by appearing to do right. And that's the bottom line. I know it sounds very sinister, what I'm saying, but it is the truth. The world is a very sinister place. Remember, the devil is the god of the world, so it's going to be a sinister place. It has to be. The devil's realm. See, the sick thing about hell and all that is that there are so many different levels and layers and circles of deception that somebody at this level thinks that everything's, potentially hunky-dory, and somebody at this level knows how corrupt it is, and somebody at this level really knows how corrupt it is, and somebody at this level is talking to Satan. So there are so many different levels of awareness and insight on a need-to-know basis that really the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing in hell, in Freemasonry, in the world. It's just all so wicked and evil. People are conquered mind and heart by the devil, thinking that he has some legitimate issues to bring up against God, because he's deceived them. And he's used all of these different levels of rank and dispensations of authority within society to keep people in little bubbles that they've carved out for them, little caves for everybody, little belly compartments like the cow has 4 stomachs. Satan has many stomachs in hell for different types of people that he's deceived in different types of ways to keep them all compartmentalized and divided out, for different mechanisms of digestion and decomposition and stages of it. He's a bastard, but everything in his systems is designed to decompose humanity and society under the facade that things are getting better. They're just making it worse. But they just have these pretenses that they continue, that they perpetuate. It's all part of it. But imagine that 2 years ago, I had a medical card and I had a dentist. And I'd go to the dentist and they'd clean my teeth once a year, and it would stop gum disease and receding gum line, and which once the gums start to recede significantly, the infection that you might have in your gums goes above the gum line. So now you can no longer detect it. So you have an infection up in your bone, but your teeth look perfectly fine. There's no bleeding in your gums, it's fine. But the infection has migrated and is now eating the bones around your teeth. And because they kicked me out of the dentist and said, "You're on social welfare, we don't take medical card anymore," I had no way of diagnosing that the bone was being eaten, that it was being decayed and consumed by the bacteria. So this sort of neglect is against the law in this country. But nobody cares. Nobody does anything about it, because they're all corrupt in Freemasonic cabals together, protecting each other in their corruption. From government to your dentist to your bin man, they're all in the same cabals shaking hands for generations, for centuries. These types of neglect are rife in society. And in Ireland especially now, there are so many breaches of our constitution that we might as well not have one. And that's where they want to take it in people's thinking. They want people to think, well, if you ask somebody in Ireland and you talk about the government to somebody in Ireland, they'll say, "Sure, it's the government. What do you expect? They're corrupt. Like, what do you want?" It's like, what? You realise this is democracy and we have to hold our government accountable. Sure, they're corrupt. What are you going to do? Which is obviously the devil talking. He is the corruption, and he's the busybody around the corruption, trying to prevent people from doing anything about it. He's the lethargic guy who's, "Sure, what do you expect? Just mind yourself." So the devil goes around telling everybody, "Mind yourself," so that people don't rally together and prevent the corruption. But mind yourself sounds like good advice, right? But what he's doing is he's trying to get you focusing only on yourself, so that you don't reach out to others, identify the problems, come together as a collective and prevent them. So these are systems of division, systems of dividing the body out and preventing the ability for a man to work full-time, have money left over, such that he's in a position then to help another man who's in need. And people will say, "Well, we pay tax and the government look after that through the social welfare." Oh, no, they don't. They don't look after it. People don't get paid enough in social welfare. And if you rely on social welfare all the time, it gives them the facility to fail to create the jobs and maintain the jobs, so that more people end up in social welfare, which gives them control over the nation. Social welfare is a slave nation. Who wants to be on social welfare? I don't. Social welfare is a slave nation. You've no control once you're on social welfare. You've got your hand out. Who wants to be there? Nobody does. But when they say there's no jobs, what are you going to do? But the problem is they're saying there's no jobs because they're not bothering their Barney to build the infrastructure which will create the jobs, which will satisfy the infrastructural needs. This isn't rocket science. They're orchestrating a collapse of society because they're trying to imprison human beings, and so they can hand them over to the conglomerate, this cabal of world rulers which are trying to redirect Western society and the world at large, so that they can eventually feel so in control. They're power-hungry, greedy men, that want to have control over all the nations who serve the devil. So we're just seeing the increments of these changes happening gradually over time to bring the whole thing towards that final goal, which is complete control by one government and one faith system. And their systems of partial care give them the opportunity to create a filtration system which allows people who will oppose them to fall through the cracks. It's just a simple sieve. It's a sifting system. Because the devil can't sift from God. He tries to sift them from the world and sieve them out through the cracks of society and the holes in the governmental systems. And when you bring this to people's attention, oh, the government's corrupt, what are you going to do? You're talking to a Freemason. If somebody says that to you, they're the devil's servant. They're part of the structure and the show. It could even be a demon you're talking to. It's all part of the one loop. You see what I'm saying to you? So if you come against them, they pull the plug on you. So that all the things that they can prevent and should prevent governmentally and societally happen new, because there's no prevention in place. And all of these things can build up and you're left exposed to likelihoods of, things going wrong because they've placed you in a vulnerable position by pulling the plug on you. So they keep up the appearance that they're actually there to help you, but they don't extend that help to you. Because what use is a housing department up in Wexford Town at the County Council that don't have any houses to give out? What use is a medical card that covers your teeth being cleaned if you can't find a place that will take your medical card? And so they pretend that they've got you covered and that they've got their job done, when in actuality they haven't. There's nothing stopping the government from hiring their own dentists and setting up their own clinics. They're already doing it. They're just not doing it for adults. There's nothing stopping them. And actually they're lawfully and duty bound to hire them if the people can't find them, because they have to provide that for the people. But this is the game they play. It's out of my control. Pass the buck, blame somebody else. And you're the one that suffers. Whilst they appear and pretend to be doing their job. Because they signed up to the devil, they gave their soul to him, and they have to do whatever they're told to keep themselves and their families in a better position than those who oppose the devil. That's the incentive. If you serve the devil, we'll give you access to the things that we won't give access to the ones who don't serve the devil, so you'll feel better than them. And that's what Jesus is talking about when he's talking about the mark of the beast. The mark on your forehead or on your right hand. Have you read that in Revelation? And if you don't have this mark, you won't be allowed to buy and sell during Satan's reign, when God will give him a 42-month reign, 3.5-year reign, where his authority over the world will increase for that period to persecute Christians, basically. So the devil will sort of be allowed to bring in the ark of death, the ark of destruction, that if you load it, life will appear to continue as normal. But if you don't board it, then you will be susceptible to loss of community, loss of access to normal things in society. And that's coming. So we're sort of getting a taster of that now, but it's always going on, But we get a taster of it now when Satan's servants take it upon themselves to oppose us and to give us difficulties, denying us access to dentists in due time. See, what they do is they don't say we're pulling the plug on you, we're not going to give you what is your lawful right. They just don't give it to you. They make excuses for not giving it to you. Like, oh, we don't have any houses at the moment. Oh, we're not giving out hotel rooms. I was -5 on the street, working 14-hour shifts in Subway, and they just kept turning me away. Nothing we can do for you. Until I literally, my hip was destroyed sleeping on the ground and trying to walk up and down stairs and work 14 hours. Uh, my body just broke down and it wasn't repairing because I wasn't getting sleep. So now I have these dysfunctioning hips, a dysfunctioning back, broken shoulders from guards arresting me, which is more Freemasonic and satanic mistreatment, and it's all accumulative, and eventually they've left me basically a cripple who's facing losing my teeth in a space of 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. When all of that was fully avoidable had they have treated me like as a normal person in society. Because this is what they do. Your local housing agent, your local bin man, your local banker, they're all Freemasons shaking hands with the devil, and he enters into them to prevent you getting on in the world, prevent you getting your fair access. But all the time they're going around talking about be fair, be this, be that. But they're not. They're actively working against you and preventing you access to what should otherwise be your rightful access. But they won't say, we're just not doing it. Now go away because you're a Christian. That's not how it manifests. It's just, oh, that's not available right now because of this crisis or that adversity that's out of our control. And that's the pathetic, cowardly, cowering down behind the couch game they play. Little cowardly hiders. So that's the size of the devil for you. A little cowardly hider, pretending to have principled arguments for his conduct. He's really the personification of shit, rather toxic waste. Because shit goes out of your body, goes back into the soil and nourishes the soil. But he nourishes nothing. He's something that can't be in the body, that has to be excreted, but it's not shit, it's just toxic waste. So that's what Freemasonry is, and our president is a Freemason. Freemasonic cabals, they wear these white gloves and these aprons they have on. And that's all a pretense, this covering your phallic while we're in the lodge, where men aren't going to be operating in the phallic and in machismo and all that, cover that, be humble and honourable and respectful. These men are orchestrating the collapse of humanity. They're orchestrating things like pro-abortion, the slaughter of babies in the womb. They don't have honour. They don't have respect. And the white gloves that they wear symbolize maneuvering in society without leaving fingerprints or forensic evidence. Like, they move in society in ways that you cannot detect them, because they operate together to prevent you from progressing. And they've been doing it since you were this height, because they're trying to conquer your soul and hand you over to the fire. It's basically what they are. And currently our president is one of them. So is it any surprise that he's voting to kill babies? He's allowing referendums to be brought to have babies slaughtered in the womb? Of course not. He's serving Satan. Ask him yourself, is he a Freemason? And I know they're worshipping the devil because I was a Freemason. And as soon as I realized this is satanic, I left, I resigned. Because it is waste. The whole thing is waste. This world is going to be destroyed. It's a sinking ship. And they're just captains of the different decks of the ship that's sinking. It's a titanic mess. But even the Titanic was decked out beautifully and great artistry and all decorative, but didn't function fundamentally. And that's what's being said. That's what's symbolized in the movie. Great opulence and luxury and the appearance of well functioning and progress, but ultimately ends at the bottom of the sea. But we'll sing as the ship goes down, you know what I mean? And drink merrily. And then blow bubbles. And fool everybody into staying on the ship. Yay! We're going on the greatest thing ever! Yay! We're leaving the dock, folks! Woohoo! You have to crash into an iceberg and hit the bottom of the sea. What use is that? And they know it's coming. They knew they were crashing into the iceberg. The Freemasons. Metaphorically speaking. Servants of death, servants of the devil. Nobodies, these demons that they serve, so-called gods, have no power over anybody. Benefit none. It is what it is. I'm just giving you the heads up. The unfortunate thing is most people already know because they've been conquered by them. They hunt babies. Wizards by night. Booger men under the bed. For the devil. A wretched failure. The only thing that devil intends is the destruction of souls. There's nothing good in him. Nothing whatsoever of any good or any use. Jesus said, he said it, they have nothing in me. The devil has nothing in Jesus. So that's the weapon that the devil favors, is neglect, because neglect is not something that can be immediately proven. It's something that accumulates over time, correct? The negative effects of neglect take time to form, at which point the government have switched. So the government that are currently in are blaming the previous government by the time they get into office, which gives the appearance that they're not to blame for the current situation. Oh, we just got into office. Give us some time to sort the thing out. Oh, we're catching up on the disaster that the previous government did. Oh, give us a minute. So every government that goes in are running around like pretending to be frantic, trying to clean up the mess of the previous government, when all they do is add to it and pass it on again. And they keep relaying it to the next government. And so it affects the agenda of the devil, which is to neglect until the society is over the barrel and crippled, without the extending hand of the government, which enslaves the nation to the government, which is turning the world upside down, because the government are there to serve the people, not the other way around. And then, of course, he'll piggyback that and say, well, isn't that what I'm saying about God? Isn't God there to serve us, not us him? And so they try to invest you in philosophies or worldviews or principles that appear reasonable because he's created paradigms within which they appear reasonable by cutting off timely provision and misrepresenting a system. See, a failing government is not the same as a successful government. So yes, a successful government will serve the people, but the people will also serve the successful government. In the case where the people are enslaved, the government doesn't serve them, but they serve the government. Because if the government is serving you, effectively, you still retain the power of your homestead because the common good is healthy and you can remove a government that's failing as soon as they begin to fail. So what they do is they neglect, but they conceal the neglect until the harm is done, then they blame the previous government. Then when they can't conceal the harm anymore, they just keep restating the problem so that it gets to the point where people's expectation is that they understand the problem and not that they have the solution as a condition of their employment or election. Just like, I have a problem. Then nothing. Then, oh, we understand you have a problem. We identify the problem. And then you kind of feel a little bit of, somebody hears me. A bit of relief because people appear to be on the same page as you. And then they do nothing. Because all they're doing is restating the problem. They're not actually coming with the solution, which is their job. And their solution is not catching up on the shortfall. It's preventing it happening again. So they create these expectations in your mind which fall short of what is actually expected of them in their office. So they're reduced expectations, so that you're not going to hold them accountable to what needs to be done and what should be done, so that then you see them as accountable for the failure. Because what they're trying to do is neglect, but wear the white gloves of impunity, as the Freemasons do. Clean hands. Because they don't appear to cause the problem or touch the problem. They just report on it. And stand with you agreeing, oh yeah, it's a terrible problem over there, isn't it? As though they weren't the ones that created it. By neglect. To implement perfectly well-functioning systems that, if they implemented, would prevent the problem happening. So that's how the devil uses demons and wizards to oppose you without your knowing. Blessings in Jesus' name. I love you.